Hey guys, how's it going? So today is the last day of my sale on my latest course on photorealistic digital painting. So this tutorial is a section from the course on how I add photo effects to my images to kind of make them look like either vintage photographs or old black and white photographs, sepia tone photographs, stuff like that. Different techniques you can apply to change the way it looks. So once again, there's a clip from the full course. The full course is 5.5 hours long, okay? 30 lectures, tons of awesome content. I really think you'll like it, and it goes step by step into the whole process of how I compile an image that looks photoreal. Digital painting. Most of the course, like 99% of the course, I do in Procreate, and then a little tiny piece I do in Photoshop, which if you don't have Photoshop, you can still complete the course, or you can also get a 30-day free trial of Photoshop to try it out. So it's an awesome course. I really think you'll like it. Plus, there's 100% money back guarantee, so if you really don't enjoy it, that's fine. You can get your money back. And once you buy the course, you own it forever, right? There's no expiration date. You just get to hold on to it. You can go at your own pace. Also has access to an exclusive Facebook group where only students are allowed in there, and you can get feedback from other people, and I comment on everything in there as well. And then also, right now, so the sale, like I mentioned, you can get the course for only $18 instead of its normal price of $110. Okay, so that's a huge cut, and that's for my subscribers, just as a thank you. I really appreciate all of your guys' support. But, you know, if you missed the sale, today's the last day of the sale. If you missed it, you're watching this video later, you can still get it with my subs. If you're a subscriber, you can take any of my courses for 50% off. So if you missed it, you can still get it for 50% off. So yeah, anyways, I'll go ahead and show you this clip from the course, and then afterwards I'll play the promo video so you can kind of see more what it's about. And hopefully you'll learn something from it. Have a good one. Alright, so in this last lecture, I want to go over a few additional photo effects that we can add to our painting. So, first thing we could do is I imported this image, okay, and it's just a kind of like a crumpled photo texture, okay, and you can just find one of these online. If I blow that up pretty big so it covers the whole screen, and go ahead and put that on there, okay, and then we can try setting it to different layers to find what we like. We can set to multiply for this one. I don't think that's what we want, but if we set it to screen, it already starts making it feel like a photograph. Now it's a little bit too bright, so we can go ahead and lower the opacity, but first, instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come to my curves and lower the whites a bit and make the darks a little darker so that the picture starts to come through more. And already it's really starting to look like a photograph. Now what else we can do, we have our frog here. He's on his own separate layer, but we want these merged. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate them. So I have these, now he's just on one layer. If I turn these off, I have this on one layer. There we go. Okay, so we have this guy flattened with the background. I'm going to go to color balance, and if we mess with this just a little bit, we can get it to start to look a little more like a old photograph. So go ahead and mess around with these sliders until you find something that you like. A little on the warm side maybe. I think that looks cool. Actually, let's stick with the blue. I like that. That kind of purple tinge. Awesome. Okay. Another thing we can do is add a little bit of light bleed. So have this image here. Go ahead and turn that off for a second so you can see it. And this is, you could just Google light bleed and you'll find a whole bunch of royalty-free image like this. And this is kind of like when the camera is taking a picture of something and a little bit of light gets shined right into the lens and it creates this flare-up effect. Okay. Now, right now, it doesn't really look like anything. That's not what we want. But if we go ahead and set it to overlay, or excuse me, we want screen. we can go ahead and move this around where we want it, and it'll create a really nice light bleed effect that you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and darken the blacks a little bit. And bring up the lights. And then I'm just going to flip it because I think it will look better that way. With that on the other side. There we go. And it creates a really cool effect. It looks like we got some light leak coming into the photo. I'm just going to brighten it up. You want to make sure that your blacks are as black as possible while your lights are really bright, so they really feel burnt out. Okay? Like that. And it looks really cool. And when we turn our photo texture back on top of it, it really starts to look like an old photograph, right? So, maybe we want to make it look even older, right? We want to go really old, okay? So we'll turn off this layer, go ahead and we'll bring back our other layers. So we can duplicate these again so we can have another layer, merge those down. Oops. Let's make sure that they're on. Turn those on, merge them down. Alright, so we'll turn this off, bring this back up, and say we want to make it look really old, like black and white, or maybe like sepia toned, right? So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and bring the saturation all the way down to 0. Okay? Then I'm going to adjust the curves and make my darks a little darker and my whites a little brighter. Okay? And let's bring our darks a little lighter instead. Because a lot of times these old photographs are pretty blown out. Okay? Now we're going to make a new layer on top of that. This one's going to be set to overlay. And depending on what color you want it to be, we want it to be like a sepia tone, so I'm going to pick a sepia color. We'll drop that in over the whole entire image. And then we can come over here and adjust how dark or saturated and bright it is. We don't want it quite that saturated, so I'll go ahead and bring it down just a little bit. Alright. Perfect. Let's bring it up a little more saturated. Alright, there we go. So now what we can do, we're not quite there yet. We want to distress it a little bit more. So on my frog layer, my image layer, I can come over here to, let's see, we want noise, and you can do this in Photoshop as well. And we're going to add just a little bit of noise. Go ahead and turn this off for a second so we can see just how much we're adding. Let's go back here. So we'll turn these off and go ahead and add a little bit more noise. And at first it's going to feel a little bit grainy, but that's okay, because we're going to go ahead. You can see it adds a little bit of color, little tiny colored pixels. Whoops. We don't want that, so we're going to go ahead and go back again to our hue, saturation, brightness, turn it all the way down again so it's all black and white, and then go to our Gaussian blur, and we're just going to blur it just a little bit so it feels quite not so clean and crisp and in focus, and that's going to help us blend out a little bit of that noise as well while still breaking up the image. Okay, and then when we turn this stuff back on, it really starts to look like an old photograph. And then one more little touch that I really like to add, we come on top of all of this and we have ourselves a multiply layer, and I'll just get myself a nice dark gray, use a pencil brush, and we can just scroll on here some text. So maybe we'll call this amphibious draconis. And then you can write something like 1917, and then sign it with some signature, which makes it look like maybe some old explorer took this photograph and signed it with what he found. And then if you need to make it a little darker, you can do that, or if you do want it to look more sepia tone, you can put it under your sepia layer. And now it looks like it's been signed by whoever took this photograph. Okay. And then the last thing we want to do is kind of distress the edges a little bit more. So I'm going to make this a screen layer. New layer that I created, make it a screen layer. It's underneath our photo texture layer, but on top of everything else. I'm going to set the color to white. And then I'm going to get a nice, good texture brush. Let's go with this one. Okay. And I'm going to go around the edges and paint out a few areas where I want it to feel a little bit more distressed. Okay. We'll just go through the whole thing. Painting out any areas that kind of want to make it look like the edges of the photo are a little frayed. Okay. And then we can go down here and I'll blow it up just a little bit so it's more on the edges of the painting. And then we can lower the opacity just a bit. It gives it a nice feel like the edges have kind of been scratched off or edged off. And there you go. That's how you can make it either look old, right? We have an old photograph, or if we want, we can turn on this one and we have more like a vintage photograph. So there you go. I hope you guys learned some stuff from this course. I'm really grateful that you took it, and I hope you learned something, and I can't wait to see what you produce with it. So thanks again for sticking around, and I hope you guys have a great day. Do you want to learn how to create photorealistic digital paintings? Do you want to take your painting skills to the next level? Then this is a course to help you learn how to add details to your paintings that will bring your images to life. We'll start by laying out the underdrawing for our image. Next, I'll show you how to outline our shapes and add the local colors. Then, we'll learn how to add value by adding layers of shadow and light. After that, I'll show you how to apply photo textures to your painting to bring it into the realm of reality. And lastly, we'll go through all the tips and tricks to make your painting look photoreal, like adding a depth of field and atmosphere. By the time we're done, you'll be amazed with what you've created. So, why am I sharing this with you? Well, I'm Austin, and I've worked in studio as a concept artist and as an art director, designing creatures and characters for games and film. I love teaching and sharing my knowledge to help others get better at their craft. My mission is to give you the skills you need to bring life and realism to your paintings. I offer fully responsive support throughout the course, and you gain access to an exclusive Facebook group for students only, where you can get feedback on your work. There are 30 lectures with over 5.5 hours of content. Plus, I offer a 100% no questions asked money back guarantee. So, what are you waiting for? Join and let's start painting today. Cool guys, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions about the course or you're curious, you can always leave a comment or ask me and I'll do my best to answer you and get back to you. And like I said before, if you don't like it, money back guarantee. I really appreciate all your guys' support. If you want to see more from me, be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.